Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to the beginning of the Wiki Campaign. And right now I'm just loading up Kerbal Space Program. That was a little bit louder than I thought. Maybe not to you, but definitely to me. So in this one, we are going to do the Solid Fuel Rocketry. We are going to launch an RT-10 Solid Fuel Booster rocket, and it must be unmanned. So we don't have the ability to man an aircraft or a spaceship yet, so we have no volunteers yet. So this is just basically test purposes. So we're going to use the simplest command pod. Let's see, what would be the cheapest one? Definitely not that. This one right here, it's only 300, so we can use the Stay Butnick. So we're going to use the Stay Butnick. That's the cheapest unmanned thing we can get. And then we're going to use the cheapest, well no, we're going to use the RT-10, the hammer. So apparently we can't use this because it has to have a nose cone. So let's go back up to the command pods. Could use that one. We'll just use this one. So the RC001S, or the Romeo Charlie. Let's go to aerodynamics, and we must do I have to add a nose cone to it. As for aerodynamic purposes, I think that we have the right to use this here. Okay, if you don't know, down in the bottom left, you have a thing called angle snap, and if it's set with the circle like that, you can place it anywhere you want. So like I can place it in between here and here, and see it's not in the center of this area. But if you press the letter C on your keyboard, then there's angle snap, so it'll only snap to specific angles. And I wish you could change the angle snap. That would be cool. Another thing is the symmetry settings. If you press X, if you notice this dot down here, so right now we have 1, and now we have 2, and it'll be perfectly centered on the other side of it. We can go 3, so it will look like this. Your basic standard rocket, what everyone thinks of when they think of a rocket. And then you have 4, and then you can have 6 or 8, and that's the max. And we're going to use 3. And we're going to call this one 1 because it's the first campaign, or was the first rocket we're building. It is the Age of Rocketry. And this is the Solid Fuel Rocket Mission 1. So let's save that. And the whole point of this is to just launch the rocket. It doesn't have to be recovered, nothing. So let's go ahead and launch. So this can go straight up in the air and then fall right back down. And this is the mod that I installed here. It'll actually show you the apoapsis, the periapsis height, time to apoapsis, the time to periapsis, inclination, eccentricity, and it tells you everything you need to know. But we can go ahead and turn that off. So let's go ahead and hit space to go. And on solid fuel rockets, you can't control the throttle down here. So if you can have it on 0 and it's still set to max, so it doesn't matter. And shift will take your throttle up, control down. And then you have the A key, which if you watch, the A key will move your is to move left, D is to move right, S is to move, it'll move the this part, the nav ball up this way. So it is reversed. So down is up is down if you've ever played a flying simulator. The W or the Q and E keys. Q is to rotate, is to rotate around or roll, and E is to roll the opposite direction, is to roll right. If you right click on the wings, you can activate these. Like if you hit state and you have it deployed, it will have a permanent roll to it, which is pretty cool. So it'll automatically do like a spin to it, which is pretty neat, I think, depending on what you're doing. And the animations are pretty good. If you right click on the RT-10, you can activate the engine, which will turn it on, or you can, we'll go over this stuff later, but it tells you all the specifics about it. So let's go ahead and launch this. Let's go ahead and hit space, and it launches it in the air. And up here is your altimeter, and then your atmospheric height. And we're not using SAS right now. And we are... And then in the lower left-hand corner, you can see your fuel depleting. Another place you can see where it's depleting is up here in the top right-hand corner where it says resources. And notice my electricity is depleting as well. So we're up, and we just passed 10,000 meters or 10 kilometers. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. And we are going to slowly deplete. This is our velocity. So you can have a there's a 0 here, and if you have a plus velocity, it means you're going up. If you have a negative velocity, you're obviously going back down. Very important to know. Then you have your nav ball. If you look around the edges, this right here is 0 degrees. Well, right now it's negative. Yeah, well, we're going back down. And then you have the degrees going around this way, which this first one here is 45 degrees. And then which is, if you look, you can see. So right now we're at 90, or we're at negative 90. And you can see the degree on here. So we're going to go right back down. And if I would have had, say, made it where I could destroy my buildings. If you notice, I'm going to land right back on the launch pad most likely, or around thereof. I have a... If you look at my subscriptions, right now I only have one subscription, just because I watch him the most. But if you look in there, you can see one of the good ones to watch, I guess. I'm looking for more. Alright. So that is the end of mission 1. And of course it's not going to do anything. You have to hit the escape key. We'll go to the Space Center. So I think that was a successful launch for that. So let's go in here, back into the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. And if you notice the Kerbal Engineer Redux thing right here, it tells you your burn time, your delta V, your thrust to weight ratio, your torque, your thrust, your ISP, your mass, your cost, your parts, and all that good jazz. The main thing I actually look at is, I look at this right here. And it tells you your staging, so right now we're at stage 0. So, let's see here. The next mission is to launch a 2-stage solid fuel rocket. It must be unmanned and must be successfully retrieved. Example, have a parachute. To retrieve a craft, I'll show you how to do that. So this has to be a 2-stage solid rocket. So we're going to click New, and we're going to start from scratch. Let's use the Romeo Charlie. For our second stage, we are going to use the RT5 Flea. And we need a stack decoupler because that will separate our stages. Set that right there. And your staging area is on the bottom right hand corner. And we need another, let's use the RT10. Yeah, that'll work. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to use 2 of those. So let's use the RT10 here as well. We're going to set a nose cone on top, which if we go with the advanced nose cone, and we will also set some, those are huge, some basic stuff to control it. It doesn't say anything about turning, it just states that we need to go up, basically. So that's what we will do. We will set some... Well, where'd those wings go? That's the standard canard, but that's not what I wanted. Oh, where could it be? Could use winglets, that would work. I think those turn. We will use this here, and we will use 3 of them. And then we will use a smaller basic fin up top. And inside here you can right click on it and you can change the thrust limiter and how much fuel is in it. So if we take the thrust limiter and take it down to about 50, if you notice up here, it'll change. So right now we're at 100, and it says that stage 2, which is the first stage, which if you notice it's highlighted in green, it's at 15.7 seconds. But if I take the thrust limiter and turn it down to 50, now it's 31.5. So that'll make us fly a little bit longer if we don't lose control. So now we have about 1 minute worth of fly time. But you know what? I don't think the Kerbals have They've obviously not adjusted to that yet. But you know what? I think that they have at least realized that they can bring the thrust down because of the next campaign, or the next set of missions we're going to do. So let's go ahead and set up some... we're going to recover them, and inside the utility tab, we have parachutes, which, if we take the nose cone off, we can put the extra large parachute on. So now we have the extra large parachute, and that can double as a nose cone if you think about it. So if you right click on the parachute, you can tell it when to open up, which is kind of nice. Minimum pressure that it'll open is 0.04, and the altitude is 500. And that's 500 above the ground, not 500 wherever. I can't remember what it's called, but we'll just go with it. So I want to change my staging down here on the bottom right, and I want it to fire the first stage. Then it's going to come up and decouple, and then I'm going to have it wait until I can straighten back up, and then I will fire the second one. And then when I'm coming back down, I will do that. So let's change the aerodynamics to something I can use to turn with. Something smaller than that. And that's huge, but it doesn't weigh very much, and that's the good thing about it. Like this, the weight on this is 0.037. Let's see, AVR8. The AVR8 is 0.1, so these weigh more, which will be good on the bottom. It'll add more weight on the bottom so that it wants to stay upright. And you can check the center of mass by clicking the weight right here. So the center of mass is right in the middle, and then the center of mass here is right in the middle, so that's okay. Center of thrust is at this engine here, and right there. And the center of lift is right below the center of thrust, which I don't know if that's good or not. To be honest with you, I don't really remember. So we're going to set this right up here. So now we have a higher center of, if I turn this one off, now we have a higher center of lift. And we will call this one 2. And we are in the Age of Rocketry. We are on Solid Fuel Rocket. And it's Mission 2. And this will be the standard naming conventions because I want to... Actually, that should be 02. And actually 002, just in case. So 002, let's save that. And I want to reload the other one, which is a 1. And I want to save this as 001. And the reason is because just in case if there's more than what we need. So I can delete the 1 here. And I've still got that one. So now we can keep them in order on how we build them. So now we launch the first one, decouple, launch the second one, and then we hit the parachute. And what we could do is, if you're playing the built-in campaign for the game, you might actually want to put some parachutes on the bottom one so that they get saved as well. Which probably isn't too bad of an idea even on this one, just so we can keep it, you know, realistic. So let's take that off, and we will put an actual nose cone on it. Nose cone. There we go. And then we will set 2 parachutes here. Right there. And there we go. So the first parachutes will decouple, will open when it decouples here. And the second ones will, well, we'll do it at the top when I tell it to. And spacebar is what will pull your next area. Oh, excuse me. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and save that and launch. So now all we need to do is just launch up straight. We need to make the parachutes pop out and just basically save the aircraft. So let's launch. And we'll watch the fuel and everything else for that matter. Make sure it stays flying straight. And then we will decouple there. The parachutes will open if you notice. Launch the second one. So we're still doing okay. We are starting to drift over a little bit. So we can, well, this one's not gonna, oh, it does let me turn a little bit, doesn't it? So we're at 12 kilometers. And we got some pretty high G's on that one. We are unfortunately, okay, we're not going to hit space, which is good. We are pretty high up though. We are at 28 kilometers. Our max, if you notice in the top, I don't know if you can see it, but it's at 61 kilometers now. And if you hit the period key, it will increase your time warp. And then, but you gotta be careful. Using physics, warp can affect the structural stability of the vessel. Which reminds me of a mod I should have installed. What it does is it strengthens your vessels. But I don't remember what it's called because after I deleted them, I emptied my trash and all that good jazz. We are at 60 kilometers now, so we almost hit space on this one. And we are falling. And under 120 kilometers, you can only do a time warp of 4. So, and you don't want to hit your parachutes too soon. And the reason is because of the re-entry burn. Because whenever you re-enter, you have all this energy and it converts it to heat. So we will start our burn. If you notice, you can see the energy. Well, this is, I can't remember what that's called actually. But at about 5,000 meters or 5 kilometers, I'll hit my parachute, which is the space bar. And we're at 6, and we are at 5. Or we won't because we are out of electricity. So this is a failed mission. We did not save our aircraft. We forgot to put on a solar panel or a battery. So it's destroyed. Let's go back to the Space Center. I completely didn't even think about it. This is something you have to have for unmanned aircraft. You have to have a charge for it. So underneath this, I want to go to Utilities, all the way to the end, and I'm going to throw on a Z1K battery. Okay, now I have plenty of charge. I am also going to make the thrust limiter at 100%, and I'm going to cut the fuel down by half on both of them so that it will cut off faster and we can finish this video. So we're going to go up a lot faster on this one, so launch. And we are at about, we're at quite a few G's here. We can't really turn any. Let's launch this one. Can't really turn with it, but that's okay. Okay, we're not getting very much height, so now I can fast forward. We're not even going to hit 10,000 or 10 kilometers on this one. Fall back down. Go ahead and hit the parachute. And the reason why I want to install that mod is only for structural stability of the aircraft that we build. When I figure out, I'll figure it out and I'll install it before the next video. But I'll show you how to install it and which one it is. So we fall, and at 600 meters, they open. And aircraft is not going to spin around. There we go. Kind of wish it could have got hung up on it. That would have been neat. So let's speed up. But you don't want to be in fast forward when he hits, because it will mess up the physics. And that's the only thing that I don't like very much about it. But in a way, it just makes it where you don't want to hit the physics too much. So we're 80, and we have touchdown, and we are good. We have landed, and it is a successful mission. So with that, comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.